The world called you chosen. They placed their expectations on your shoulders like a crown forged from both hope and fear. They whispered of destiny in crowded halls, spoke of miracles and legends, as if you were the thread tying the tapestry together. But they never told you what being chosen really meant. They didn't warn you that light can be as blinding as it is fleeting, that admiration often hides envy, that the applause that rings so sweetly in daylight often evaporates the moment shadows crawl across the edges. You believe the chosen walk unshakable, that their paths are paved with guidance and protection, that their steps are somehow sacred, untouchable by pain. Yet here you are, standing at the precipice where the first real night arrives, and you feel something unfamiliar. Unease, trembling, the creeping realization that destiny is no savior. It is a test, and tests are not gentle. The dark does not negotiate. The dark does not care for reputation, nor for your halo, nor for the stories that tether you to comfort. The dark only observes, waits, and then unfolds itself in the silence of those who believe themselves prepared. You start to notice it in the little things first. The laughter that once encouraged you now carries a subtle edge of doubt. The hands that guided you falter in moments that demand steadiness. The allies who promise loyalty shrink when the night deepens. And then it grows, exponentially without warning. The ones who cheered for your steps now hesitate. The ones who claim to understand your heart falter in moments when understanding is the only currency of survival. The chosen, you realize, are trained to lead, to shine, to inspire, but never to brace for the isolation the dark demands. And in this isolation, the quiet terror emerges. It is not that you are weak. It is that no preparation, no prophecy, no whispered story could have braced you for the depth of absence, the void left by those who were supposed to walk beside you. The dark is not just a place. It is a revelation, a mirror showing you the world unmasked, showing you the hollow beneath the praise, the emptiness behind loyalty, the fragility of all the hands you once trusted to hold you up. You feel the first tremors in your chest like distant earthquakes, the subtle weight of being alone in a space you thought would always contain others. Every expectation, every prophecy, every halo is suddenly a burden rather than a blessing. The chosen do not collapse immediately. No, they are trained in resilience, in perseverance, in the art of bearing weight gracefully. But there is a limit to everything, and the dark is patient. It waits until the weight is internalized, until the applause is gone, until the halo slips quietly from your hair and falls into silence, unnoticed. And then the whispers begin, inside your head, in the empty hallways of your confidence, in the rooms of your memory. Did you overestimate yourself? Did you depend too much on those who were never meant to stay? Each whisper is like a drop of water carving grooves into rock, each one subtle yet persistent, etching doubt into even the strongest foundation. The chosen are not broken immediately. They are chipped, polished by shadows, slowly transformed into figures they no longer recognize in mirrors. And that is the first lesson of the dark. Clarity often comes at the cost of comfort. It is here, in these early stages, that the chosen must wrestle with the cruel irony of expectation. To be chosen is to be admired, yet in the same breath, it is to be scrutinized. Every misstep, every hesitation, every tremor is magnified, dissected, and then discarded by those who once held you as an example. You notice it in the eyes that once glowed with pride. They now reflect calculation, concern, and the faintest trace of fear. They are not afraid of you. They are afraid of the truth you are beginning to recognize, that no halo, no promise, no destiny, no applause can shield you from the reality that human support is temporary, unreliable, and often conditional. And in that fear, in that awareness, something shifts inside you. The trembling begins not as a weakness but as recognition, a trembling that signals awakening, the realization that survival is a solitary art, that the dark is not an enemy to conquer but a teacher to listen to, however harsh its lessons may be. The first lesson is patience. The dark moves slowly, deliberately. It teaches that not all betrayals are loud, that not all dangers are immediate. Some are insidious. Some arrive as smiles that fade, as hands that pull back, as voices that once promised allegiance, now filled with excuses. The chosen are trained to expect loyalty, to inspire it, to nurture it, but never to anticipate its absence. And when it leaves, the emptiness is deafening. That emptiness is a new teacher, one that whispers the truth with merciless precision. The world is indifferent to prophecy, immune to halos, unmoved by admiration. It is indifferent to your pain, indifferent to your dreams, indifferent to the choices that defined you as someone extraordinary. And the most terrifying part, you are expected to endure, to survive, to continue moving forward despite the absence of guidance, despite the lack of applause, despite the shadows that stretch longer than the light ever promised to reach. And so the trembling grows, spreading through your mind and body like an invisible tide. You begin to realize that being chosen is not an endowment, it is a crucible. It does not prepare you for the warmth of companionship in moments of trial. It prepares you for the cold clarity of isolation. You understand painfully that the halo is fragile, the crown heavy, and the audience unreliable. You must become your own anchor, your own light, your own standard of survival. Every expectation they laid on you was a gift and a burden intertwined. Every story told about your destiny now reads as a challenge. Every cheer is a test, and in learning to walk through shadows while the world believes you are still basking in light, the chosen begin to understand the first true law of darkness. The world will not save you, nor will it mourn you. It only waits to see whether you can learn to stand, and if you do, it will tremble in the shadow of your self-possession. The trembling is not just physical, it is spiritual, psychological. It is the recognition that all the instruction you received about honor, courage, loyalty, and guidance is incomplete. They taught you to lead, to inspire, to shine, but never how to navigate a world where support dissolves, where friends vanish like mist, where the ones who claim permanence are the most fleeting. The chosen discover that this is not failure, it is revelation. In revelation cuts, it burns, it isolates, but in that isolation you are forged. The trembling is not weakness, it is the body, mind, and soul responding to an environment that demands adaptation. It is proof that transformation has begun, subtle but unstoppable. And here, in the quiet before the storm, the chosen learn the first unspoken truth. The dark cannot be opposed with hope or applause. It cannot be negotiated with honor alone. It is a force that requires reckoning, patience, and a surrender to the truths that are always uncomfortable. The trembling is recognition of this, and recognition is the first step toward mastery. By the time the halo slips entirely from your grasp, by the time the applause is gone, by the time isolation stretches across the horizon like a winter field, the chosen are ready to face what comes next. And what comes next will not be the world they imagined, nor the destiny they were told was theirs. It will be the raw, unflinching reality of standing in darkness and deciding whether to break or become something unrecognizable, unstoppable, inevitable. The chosen have learned the first law, that darkness is inevitable, that isolation is not punishment but preparation. But the second law is far harsher. The darkness does not only test endurance, it tests identity. You begin to question the self you once knew, the version the world admired, the version you believed invincible. Every step you take feels heavier now because every step is measured against absence, betrayal, and expectation turned hollow. Those who once whispered your name with reverence now murmur it with doubt, their admiration fading into a murky haze of suspicion and fear. And in that murkiness, the chosen discover a painful truth. The world does not see who you are. It only sees what it wants to see. And that false reflection can feel like a blade pressed to the spine. You start noticing the fractures in your surroundings. Friends who promised loyalty vanish the moment the first shadows stretch. Allies reveal cracks that were invisible in sunlight. Mentors falter when decisions demand moral courage. And it is in these moments, small and sharp, that you understand what the darkness has been teaching all along. Permanence is an illusion, trust is a gamble, and no halo can shield you from the cold calculation of survival. The chosen tremble, yes, but not because they are weak. They tremble because the foundation they assumed was unshakable is being dismantled piece by piece, leaving them exposed, raw, and painfully aware that every belief about the world, about people, about destiny itself, is being rewritten in real time. It is here that the most insidious part of the dark begins to emerge, the creeping doubt, the one that whispers at the edges of thought, soft yet relentless. Perhaps you were never meant to succeed. Perhaps your light was always temporary. Perhaps the world does not want the chosen to survive. It scratches at your certainty, chafes against your pride, and exposes the vulnerability you once hid behind smiles and speeches, behind guidance and inspiration. The chosen are forced to confront a terrifying question. Who are you when all the assumptions about your worth are stripped away? Who stands when applause fades? Who remains when the crowd disperses, leaving only shadows to witness your existence? This is the point where many falter. Many fail because they cannot reconcile who they were with who the dark demands they become. The chosen must learn the art of adaptation. They must learn that light alone is insufficient. Charisma, honor, and public approval are fragile, even dangerous, in a world that does not bend for saints. They must learn to move silently, to calculate, to allow pain to refine them rather than consume them. Every betrayal becomes a lesson, every absence a strategy, every tremor a signal of what must change. And in this process, the chosen begin to discover the paradox of their power. Vulnerability is no longer weakness, it is information. Pain is no longer punishment, it is curriculum. The darkness does not destroy the chosen who pay attention. It educates them with merciless precision. And yet, mastery of the dark is not instantaneous. It is slow, deliberate, torturous. The chosen begin to notice their own transformation before anyone else does. The hands that once trembled when confronting authority now tighten with intent. The voice that once sought approval now cuts with clarity. The heart that once trusted easily now measures, calculates, and protects. They learn that silence is stronger than argument, absence more instructive than advice, and observation more valuable than impulse. The trembling that began as fear now becomes anticipation. The body and mind attuned to what is coming, ready to meet threats not with panic, but with prepared force. This preparation breeds something else, awareness. Awareness of the human tendency towards selfishness, duplicity, and fleeting loyalty. Awareness of how easily admiration can sour into envy, how quickly gratitude decays into neglect. Awareness of how many masks the world wears and how few of them reveal truth. And in this awareness, the chosen gain the subtle power that those who never trembled cannot comprehend, the ability to move through life unshaken by illusion. They begin to act with precision, to wield patience as a weapon, and to understand that the world's indifference is not an obstacle but a teacher. But the dark is relentless. It does not allow complacency, and it does not forgive hesitation. Every lapse, every moment of softness, every trace of reliance on others becomes a fissure that could fracture the carefully reconstructed self. The chosen feel these fissures like tremors beneath the skin, like a cold wind slipping beneath armor. They know the cost of misstep because the dark does not waste time. It corrects, and correction is rarely gentle. It is a hammer striking steel, shaping the chosen into forms that are unrecognizable even to themselves. The trembling continues, now not only as fear, but as expectation, as readiness, as the awareness that survival demands a version of self stripped of naivete and adorned in resilience. And then comes the quiet terror that the chosen must face alone, the realization that mastery of the dark isolates them. Friends drift, crowds disappear, mentors fall silent. The applause that once validated existence now matters nothing. The chosen understand that their power, their clarity, their survival is not a social gift. It is inherently solitary, and that solitude, while frightening, is transformative. Chosen learn to inhabit their own presence fully, to recognize that the shadow they once feared is now a mirror, reflecting not weakness, but raw, formidable potential. The trembling remains, but it is no longer submission. It is recognition of the responsibilities and capabilities that come from walking alone through shadowed corridors of life. This is when they understand a fundamental law of existence. The world does not fear the chosen. They fear the consequences of underestimating them. The trembling that began as doubt becomes the pulse of insight, the rhythm of calculated movement, the echo of a mind attuned to subtlety and danger. The chosen learn to interpret silence as communication, absence as negotiation, and pain as an asset. They become observers and strategists, sculptors of fate rather than pawns of expectation. And while others may see only a figure trembling, uncertain, and human, the chosen know the truth. The trembling is the prelude to emergence, the first note in a symphony of strength no applause could ever teach. By the end of this phase, the chosen are no longer simply chosen. They are tempered. They are sharpened by absence, educated by betrayal, and fortified by darkness. They have learned that the world will not nurture them, that human kindness is fleeting, and that expectation often masks indifference. And yet, within this realization, a peculiar freedom arises. The trembling becomes less about fear and more about awareness. It teaches patience, strategy, and a profound understanding of power. It teaches that the dark is not an enemy to overcome, but a reality to navigate. And in navigating it, the chosen cultivate the most dangerous skill of all, autonomy. By now, the chosen understand that darkness is no longer a threat to endure. It is a force to be studied, respected, and harnessed. Every tremor, every hesitation, every whisper of fear has taught them the fragility of expectation, the deceit of admiration, the ephemeral nature of trust. The chosen begin to see the architecture of betrayal as clearly as a blueprint drawn in fire. The cracks in promises, the shortcuts of opportunists, the way admiration decays when convenience outweighs loyalty. And in this clarity, a new power is born, not the kind sung of in legends or praised in storybooks, but the subtle, insidious kind that makes the world pause and reconsider its assumptions. You realize, painfully yet profoundly, that the chosen are not made heroic by praise, nor immortal by prophecy. They are made dangerous by endurance, by solitude, by the lessons carved into their bones by relentless darkness. The trembling now takes a different form. It is no longer mere fear or uncertainty. It is anticipation. It is the body recognizing danger before it arrives, the mind calculating possibilities before decisions are demanded, the soul measuring consequence in silence. The chosen walk through streets of shadow, past faces that once smiled with expectation, past voices that once promised loyalty, past walls that once confined them, and they notice. They notice everything because to survive, to thrive, to endure beyond what the world anticipated, one must see the subtle movements of life as clearly as the movements of one's own shadow. Every pause in conversation, every hesitation in a hand extended, every flicker in an eye becomes a lesson, a clue, a weapon of foresight. This is not paranoia, it is evolution. The trembling itself teaches the chosen the art of perception, the rhythm of caution, the silent strength of patience. And yet, mastery is not granted without cost. The chosen are now acutely aware of the isolation their strength demands. The crowd that once admired them has disappeared, replaced by whispers of suspicion, faint murmurs of jealousy, quiet dismissals. Allies have become ghosts, mentors have withdrawn, and companions who were once thought permanent reveal themselves as ephemeral. This solitude is brutal. It gnaws at confidence, it tests willpower, it forces introspection to the edge of obsession. But within the gnawing lies clarity. Reliance on others is optional. Reliance on self is mandatory. The chosen have no one to shield them from consequences, no safety net woven from expectation, no guarantee of support. Every step taken must be deliberate, every trust measured, every action calculated with a precision honed by experience and tempered by suffering. The trembling persists, yes, but it is no longer weakness. It is awareness, it is focus, it is the heartbeat of emerging dominance. The darkness continues to teach through contrast. The chosen now recognize the difference between true allies and temporary passengers, between fleeting admiration and genuine respect, between illusion and reality. And this recognition reshapes not only the way they interact with the world, but the very core of who they are. Where once they sought approval, now they seek strategy. Where once they hoped for protection, now they build resilience. Where once they were guided by expectation, now they are guided by observation and insight. The trembling, the constant, subtle shiver of adaptation, has become a metronome, pacing the evolution of thought and action. Every heartbeat is a lesson, every breath a measure of survival, every moment an opportunity to refine the self into something unassailable. Here is the cruelest truth the chosen must confront. Mastery of the dark isolates them, not because the world is cruel, but because it is indifferent. Those who cannot withstand shadows, those who demand reassurance, those who seek the warmth of collective approval are left behind. And this is the point where the chosen tremble most, not from fear of the darkness, but from the realization that the old world, the familiar world of applause, love, and validation, no longer exists. They stand at the edge of their former reality, and the silence is deafening. Yet within that silence, the chosen find clarity. The absence of others is not abandonment, it is a canvas. The darkness is not an enemy, it is a sculptor. The trembling is not a curse, it is the signal of rebirth, and rebirth is neither immediate nor painless. The chosen must confront themselves in ways that those who live in comfort never can. They must face their own illusions, their own dependency, their own soft spots that the world has quietly targeted. Every flaw is exposed under shadow, every insecurity illuminated by absence, every hope measured against the weight of solitude. The trembling teaches endurance, yes, but it also teaches honesty, brutal, unflinching honesty. The chosen see themselves as they truly are, stripped of expectation, stripped of applause, stripped of everything that once defined them externally. And in that clarity, they make choices that are irreversible. They learn that compassion must be wielded wisely, that trust is a currency too valuable to spend freely, and that power, once truly understood, is as much a responsibility as it is a weapon. This is where the metamorphosis solidifies. The chosen, having trembled, having questioned, having absorbed the lessons of darkness, begin to move differently. They walk without seeking validation, speak without seeking approval, and act without the fear of judgment. They no longer hope for others to understand. They create strategies that require no consent. The trembling becomes a memory of past vulnerability, a reminder of the lessons learned, and a compass guiding every decision with precision and purpose. The world will misinterpret this transformation as arrogance, detachment, or coldness. They will not see the centuries of internal struggle that have forged these contours, nor the intimate battles with fear, doubt, and betrayal that have shaped every careful motion. But the chosen do not require recognition. They require only survival, only mastery, only the quiet satisfaction of knowing that they endure where others falter. And here is the irony the chosen carry. Those who once sought to control, manipulate, or diminish them will now tremble in return. Not because the chosen strike first, but because the chosen no longer respond in predictable ways. Silence becomes their most devastating weapon. Absence becomes their most eloquent statement. Observation becomes their means of influence. In the trembling, the internal rhythm honed over months or years of darkness guides them with relentless accuracy. They no longer act with haste or naivety. They act with precision. They no longer trust blindly. They measure, calculate, and anticipate. They no longer stumble in shadows. They move through them like predators accustomed to night. By the end of this stage, the chosen are no longer merely survivors. They are architects of their own sovereignty. The trembling remains faintly, as a reminder that mastery is not permanent, that vigilance is constant, that darkness is eternal. But it is no longer debilitating. It is instructive. It is the pulse of adaptation, the heartbeat of preparedness, the silent affirmation that the chosen can endure what the world thought impossible, and the world, having underestimated them at every turn, begins to realize its error too late. By the time recognition dawns, the chosen have already transformed. They are no longer merely chosen. They are fortified, unshakable, and prepared to confront any darkness that comes next. By the time the chosen reach this stage, the trembling has transformed into something sharper, more deliberate. It is no longer a reflex of fear or uncertainty. It is the pulse of calculation, the rhythm of awareness, the echo of lessons etched into muscle and bone. The dark has become familiar, not comforting, but predictable, a teacher who demands obedience and rewards only those who learn. The chosen have seen the faces of betrayal, the shadows of vanished allies, the empty promises once offered as shields. And in that knowledge, something extraordinary occurs. Fear begins to bend to serve to guide. Trembling is no longer the sign of vulnerability. It is the rhythm of preparation, a subtle indicator that the body, mind, and soul are attuned to survival, to power, to inevitability. The chosen now understand that the dark does not merely test them. It provokes transformation. Every absence, every broken vow, every misjudgment by others has chipped away at the naive assumptions of their earlier existence. They see now that light alone is insufficient, that approval is fragile, that admiration can dissolve in an instant. What matters is not the halo others bestow upon you, nor the legend whispered behind closed doors. It is the steel forged within, the armor constructed in silence, the instincts honed by solitude. And as the trembling sharpens, it becomes an instrument of discernment. Chosen move differently now. They act not with impulsive courage, but with measured force. They speak not with hope for agreement, but with clarity born of experience. They trust not freely, but wisely. The darkness has demanded mastery, and the chosen have delivered. Yet mastery is never static. The dark shifts, the shadows move, and the lessons continue. The chosen cannot rest in complacency. They must anticipate betrayal before it manifests, calculate consequence before it strikes, and understand that every interaction carries the potential for exposure. Those who were once considered allies may return, but only under the scrutiny of the learned. Every word, every gesture, every smile is measured against the reality of past abandonment. The trembling that remains is a reminder. Vigilance is eternal. The darkness does not forgive carelessness. It will strike where opportunity presents itself, and the chosen must be ready, even when the world believes them safe, even when they appear ordinary to onlookers. And here lies the cruel beauty of their evolution. The chosen have become untouchable, not because they are invincible, but because they understand themselves in ways that others cannot. They have seen their own fractures, embraced their vulnerabilities, and transformed every wound into insight. They understand that those who tremble before shadows are not weak. They are inexperienced. The world fears not the light of the chosen, but the shadowed intelligence forged by fire and solitude. Every whisper of doubt, every glance of dismissal, every attempt to manipulate is now met with a silent, calculating response. The chosen move through the world like hunters in darkness, unseen yet inevitable, and those who once underestimated them can only tremble in retrospect. The chosen begin to wield a power far subtler than raw strength or flashy skill. It is the power of awareness, the power of anticipation, the power of knowing the patterns of human weakness and exploiting them without hesitation. The trembling is a guide, a pulse that synchronizes with the rhythm of danger, the cadence of opportunity, the flow of inevitability. They learn to listen in silence, to act in patience, to strike not with emotion, but with purpose. Every step, every choice, every breath is deliberate. The darkness no longer looms as a threat, it dances alongside them, a partner in the choreography of survival and supremacy. And in that dance, the chosen discover a rare clarity. They are no longer reacting to the world, they are shaping it. But clarity carries its own isolation. Those who cannot withstand the same darkness drift away, leaving the chosen with only their instincts, their strategy, and their accumulated wisdom. Companionship is replaced by calculated observation. Approval is replaced by self-assurance. Loyalty is replaced by precision. The trembling, faint yet persistent, becomes a reminder of the lessons learned, the betrayals endured, the solitude embraced. It is not weakness, it is a pulse of mastery, a silent affirmation that the chosen can endure anything, outlast anyone, and confront every challenge the world throws without expectation, without hesitation, without apology. And with mastery comes a dangerous understanding. Those who sought to harm or diminish the chosen will now recognize, too late, the consequences of their actions. The trembling that once marked vulnerability has become an instrument of anticipation and control. Silence, once a symptom of fear, becomes a weapon. Observation, once passive, becomes strategy. The chosen have learned that the world fears not the hero, but the survivor, someone who has absorbed betrayal, embraced solitude, and emerged capable of moving through darkness unbroken, unshaken, unstoppable. The chosen now understand that power is not given. It is earned through pain, through patience, through the intimate understanding of absence and shadow. This is the point where the chosen begin to see the world as it is. raw, indifferent, and dangerous. And yet, this realization does not weaken them. It empowers them. The trembling, once a symptom of fear, becomes a rhythm of mastery, a metronome for decisions, a guide through every shadowed alley, every uncertain encounter, every unforeseen challenge. They have learned that the darkness will never retreat, that human frailty is endless, and that the expectations of others are meaningless. What matters is not survival alone. It is understanding, adaptation, and the calculated assertion of influence over everything the world underestimates. By this stage, the chosen are no longer merely survivors of circumstance. They are architects of inevitability. They have learned to move through treacherous terrain without leaving a trace, to read the intentions of others without being deceived, and to strike without warning or remorse. The trembling has not vanished. It has transformed into anticipation, awareness, and unrelenting focus. The darkness, once a teacher of fear, is now a partner in precision, guiding the chosen toward a destiny they shape, rather than one handed to them by expectation or prophecy. Trembling that began as weakness now signals mastery, and in this mastery, the chosen recognize the most profound truth of all. The world cannot touch them in the ways it once did. Those who doubted, betrayed, or abandoned them will realize their error, but by then, it will be too late. The chosen have transcended expectation, survived isolation, and absorbed the lessons of darkness. The trembling, once a sign of uncertainty, is now the heartbeat of dominance. They are not merely chosen. They are inevitable, and the dark has taught them every step of the way. This is the point of no return. The chosen have trembled, endured, evolved, and mastered the shadows that once threatened to consume them. They are no longer defined by weakness, betrayal, or fear. They are defined by what they have become, something the world cannot anticipate, something even the darkness itself respects. The trembling remains, but now it is no longer a sign of vulnerability. It is the pulse of inevitability, the rhythm of a force that cannot be denied, resisted, or ignored. The chosen walk through existence with a quiet authority, their presence alone a warning, their silence alone a lesson. The darkness that once tested them has now forged them into an entity capable of shaping reality itself. Every betrayal they endured, every absence they suffered, every lie they were fed has coalesced into a cold, precise understanding of human nature. The chosen see motives, detect weaknesses, and anticipate actions before they are even attempted. Those who underestimated them, who thought the tremors of doubt would last forever, now face a force refined by endurance, sharpened by solitude, and guided by the intimate knowledge of pain. The world that once demanded conformity, loyalty, and obedience now bends unconsciously to the calculated will of someone it no longer understands. The chosen no longer seek validation. They are the validation. They no longer ask for recognition. They are the reckoning. But the final lesson of the dark is both subtle and brutal. Power without restraint is destruction. Dominance without purpose is chaos. The chosen have learned that survival alone is insufficient. True mastery comes when control is exercised with precision, patience, and strategy. They understand timing, subtlety, and the weight of silence. A word, a pause, a glance can shift outcomes more decisively than force. The trembling that has mocked every stage of their journey now guides their judgment, signaling when to act, when to observe, and when to retreat. It is no longer the trembling of fear. It is the trembling of anticipation, the awareness of potential, the pulse of inevitability. The chosen also know the cost of what they have become. Companions are scarce, loyalty is rare. The world, indifferent to their evolution, treats them with suspicion, awe, or envy. Those who once claimed to understand them now recognize only distance, and the gap between the chosen and ordinary human experience has widened beyond repair. Yet this isolation is no longer a burden. It is a tool. Solitude has sharpened their mind, hardened their resolve, and taught them that dependence is weakness. The darkness demanded adaptation, and the chosen answered with transformation. They are the embodiment of lessons learned too harshly, the living proof that pain, betrayal, and solitude are not obstacles, but instruments of evolution. And in this transformation lies a terrifying beauty. The chosen are no longer limited by the expectations of others. They do not move according to societal rules, popular opinion, or fleeting allegiance. Their path is their own, illuminated by experience and guided by instinct. Every calculated decision, every silent observation, every measured step through life is informed by the knowledge of the dark, the subtle understanding that survival, mastery, and inevitability are intertwined. Those who attempt to challenge the chosen now tremble themselves, sensing intuitively that they are up against not a person, but a force shaped by suffering, honed by isolation, and tempered by fire. The ultimate revelation comes in the quiet moments of reflection. The chosen understand that trembling is not a flaw, it is a guide. It signals the ever-present potential of danger, the constant rhythm of opportunity, and the awareness that no power is absolute, no victory permanent. The dark does not disappear, it shifts, adapts, and tests again, and the chosen, having been forged through every test, have become creatures capable of responding with precision and foresight. They are no longer reactive, they are proactive. They do not fear the dark, they navigate it, they do not hesitate, they calculate, they do not tremble at chaos, they embrace it, harness it, and transform it into strategy. At this stage, the chosen realize the full scope of their own power. The ability to walk among the unsuspecting, to influence outcomes silently, to command respect without words, to turn observation into action. They have transcended ordinary limits, and the trembling that once signified doubt is now the heartbeat of mastery. Those who once sought to diminish them now confront the consequences of misjudgment. Allies who faltered, friends who betrayed, voices that disappeared, all bear witness, even if silently, to the transformation that has taken place. And in that silent recognition, the chosen understand the irony. The very darkness that once threatened to destroy them has become their ally, their teacher, their crucible. The final truth of the chosen is profound. The dark does not destroy those who endure, it empowers them. Pain does not weaken, it strengthens. Betrayal does not diminish, it sharpens. Isolation does not hinder, it educates. And the trembling that began in fear now courses as the lifeblood of inevitability, guiding every choice, every movement, every moment. The chosen are no longer merely survivors, warriors, or heroes. They are architects of destiny. They have walked through fire, absorbed the lessons of shadows, and emerged not just unbroken, but unrecognizable in their potency. And as the world stares, trembling in response, the chosen smile quietly, knowing the ultimate irony. Those who thought they could control, define, or break them have only sculpted the force they now face. The chosen are not merely standing, they are inevitable. The trembling remains, but it is no longer weakness, fear, or hesitation. It is awareness, anticipation, and the unmistakable rhythm of someone who has learned the language of darkness and speaks it fluently. They do not need validation, they do not seek approval, they do not require anyone to believe in them. They have become the embodiment of the dark's lessons, the living testament to endurance, evolution, and supremacy. The final word is this: the chosen cannot stand against the dark, not because they are helpless, but because they have become the dark incarnate in clarity, strength, and inevitability. Every step forward is calculated, every glance precise, every silence laden with meaning. And those who once trembled at the thought of opposing them will now find that trembling contagious, for the chosen have transcended fear, transformed suffering, and mastered shadow. And in that mastery, they become unstoppable, untouchable, and unforgettable.